As soon as we began using the MacBook Air M1 2020, we were impressed. It boots up quickly, an additional benefit of the new apps built for the M1 chip, as well as legacy apps built for Intel Macs, and running via Rosetta, and there was no noticeable difference in terms of performance. The fact that you can seamlessly run older apps on the MacBook Air really is commendable. The M1 chip is based on ARM architecture, and one of the biggest drawbacks of Windows 10 on devices running on ARM-based chips is that you're limited to running only ARM-compatible apps from the Windows Store. There's a rather sparse selection of these, and this severely limits the usability of these devices. Microsoft needs to come up with its own Rosetta pronto. Not only can you run pretty much any existing Mac app on the MacBook Air M1 2020, but thanks to the M1 chip using similar architecture to iPhones, you can now run any iOS app or game as well. This brings a huge amount of new tools to the MacBook, and is genuinely exciting. iOS apps and games are more feature-rich and graphically impressive than ever before, and having access to these could be a game-changer. We played a few iOS games, and they ran perfectly on the MacBook Air. Suddenly, the MacBook has become a decent gaming machine. We were able to have quite a few apps running all at once, swapping between them with ease, and the Apple MacBook Air M1 2020 kept up brilliantly. Throughout our tests it felt fast and capable. Moving a large 14 GB file from an external SSD took less than a minute, for example. This really does feel like a fast and sprightly machine. Apple claims the MacBook Air is 3 times faster than other laptops in its class, and faster than 98% of PC laptops sold in the past year. It also says the neural engine is 9 times faster than the one in the previous MacBook Air, and its SSD is up to twice as fast thanks to the M1 and the latest flash technology. One thing to note is that the fanless design of the MacBook Air M1 2020 could mean that performance is throttled when it's performing demanding tasks over long periods of time. Because there are no fans to stop it overheating, the only single-core performance of the MacBook Air was pretty much on par with the MacBook Pro, and multi-core scores weren't that much different either. This is great news for the MacBook Air and slightly less good news for the 13-inch MacBook Pro M1 2020. Because the MacBook Air M1 2020 is such a good laptop, it almost makes the MacBook Pro feel unnecessary. Performance seemed pretty similar in our day-to-day use, and we even played around with 8K video editing in Final Cut Pro, and while Apple seems keen to stress that the Air is capable of 4K video editing, it actually did a great job at 8K as well, allowing us to scrub through multiple 8K sources with ease. Very impressive. So, with that boost in performance, along with the P3 color gamut support, the MacBook Air M1 2020 is a brilliant choice for video editors who want a more affordable laptop than the MacBook Pro. It makes the MacBook Pro 13-inch slightly harder to justify purchase, though it does have a few key features that the Air misses, such as the touch bar and better cooling. Having both MacBooks churning through high-intensity tasks for long periods of time should show a bigger performance gap in the Pro's favor. But for most people, the MacBook Air M1 2020 will offer plenty of power and performance. As for battery life, we knew that the Apple Silicon would be more power efficient, so it's no surprise to find that the MacBook Air has the longest battery life of any MacBook Air yet, up to 15 hours of wireless web browsing, or up to 18 hours of video, according to Apple. We've been very impressed with the MacBook Air's battery life. Even after a few hours of work and web browsing, the battery only dropped a few percentage points. And even if you leave it on standby for a day and come back to it, the battery level remains high. In our official battery test, where we run a loop 1080p video at 50% brightness until the battery dies, the MacBook Air M1 2020 lasted a very impressive 11 hours and 15 minutes. That's a lot longer than the previous model lasted in the same tests, 7 hours 55 minutes, and it just beats the latest Dell XPS 13 as well, 11 hours 1 minute. This means you should be easily able to go a full workday, and more, without needing to charge the MacBook Air, though obviously the battery will deplete quicker if you're doing more intensive tasks with it. It doesn't quite reach the huge 13 hours and 22 minutes the 13-inch MacBook Pro M1 2020 managed, but we can't imagine anyone having any complaints with the MacBook Air M1 2020's battery life.